There's no involvement at all. I mean, I can't be involved with, this is this man's livelihood. You know, this is much bigger than me, you know. This is...
Just when I thought things had settled down in Brooklyn Nets GM Sean Marks is working with Kevin Durant on finding a trade for the franchise star.
Being a free agent is one of the most important times in your career, you know, so.
Like, this is going to be a reset in Brooklyn now. I don't know what they're going to do with Ben Simmons, but again...
I'll get on this the moment I get home. This is shaping out to be one of the greatest off seasons in NBA history.
And free agency hasn't even started yet.
And right now, two best friends, one of the most exciting duos, such wasted potential might I add, are now on the cusp of breaking up. And it's not because of Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving reaffirmed his commitment to the Brooklyn Nets. It's because of Kevin Durant. Now, before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. I'm going on the road tomorrow, but I'm gonna be bringing my camera and my laptop, and I will be recording videos on the freaking road as free agency goes down. Yes, I'm that much of a psychopath. If you think I talk way too much in this content, well, we upload shorter versions of this content onto my Instagram page as Reels and onto my new TikTok page, which is at the Flight Mic for both. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro.
I'm not gonna be here.
In my past life, like I said, I was you. I was you. I was you. What you are now, that's what I'm up here.
Do you want to be a Brooklyn Nets still?
Pass it to my left.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? You remember a couple days ago I made a video that said that Kyrie Irving absolutely exposed NBA media? I spent hours that day following every single bit of Kyrie Irving information and news, where Kyrie made it seem like he was about to sign a mid-level exception with the Los Angeles Lakers, which I said isn't really likely because who the hell would take a $30 million pay cut to play for a different team? And that's even before taxes are brought up, before he ultimately decided to reaffirm his commitment to the Brooklyn Nets, with the exclusive language being that Kyrie Irving is going to opt into his contract and he is going to fulfill his commitment to Kevin Durant and play out the entirety of his contract that he signed in 2019. And ultimately, it was a fun ride, man. I had a lot of fun covering the Kyrie Irving drama that entire week. I think we all had a lot of fun watching the Kyrie Irving drama unfold the entire week. And ultimately, after listening to what Kevin Durant was saying on his podcast in regards to Kyrie Irving, we all thought that they were going to come back together, see what they have in the form of Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. Maybe you're able to bring Joe Harris back. Maybe you're able to bring Patty Mills back and maybe get some nice pieces in free agency. That's not what happened. In one of the biggest curveballs that we've seen to date, it seems like the Brooklyn Nets are about to blow it up. And we're going to give you all the information, but on top of that, Brooklyn Nets fans, I'm not going to lie, this is probably the best case scenario for your team. And before you call me a psychopath, let me bring you the news. So first things first, we were all shocked when we found this out. According to Shams Charania, he's the first to report it. This has almost 60,000 retweets, man. Kevin Durant has requested a trade out of Brooklyn, sources tell at The Athletic and at the stadium. So I know what we were all thinking when we originally saw this. What the hell is going on? I thought KD wanted Kyrie to come back so they could work it out. I thought they were going to try to run it this year with Kyrie Irving being fully committed to the Brooklyn Nets for this year, and Kevin Durant hopefully being healthy, and Ben Simmons might be the two-way player that they have been missing this entire time. So what happened? Was it the fact that Patty Mills opted out of his contract yesterday and said he's going to test free agency? Is it the fact that Ben Simmons posted this onto his Instagram story and Kevin Durant looked at him and he's like, I can't come back? Or is it the fact that Kevin Durant could add on to his legacy in a significantly easier way by going to a team that actually really needs his services in order to get over the hump and potentially win a championship? ownership an opportunity to start one of the most exciting rivalries that we have seen in the NBA in quite some time. Well, as time went on, we found out that KD went straight to ownership with this information. He made the trade request directly to the Nets owner Joe Tsai today, sources tell ESPN. So KD went straight up to the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. He wasn't coy about it and said that he is demanding a trade. Now you might be wondering, how does Kyrie feel about that? We're gonna get to that in just a sec, because Sean Marks seems to be all on board with working with Kevin Durant and his business manager, Rich Kleiman, on finding a trade for the franchise star, Kleiman tells ESPN. Now here's the thing, man. I'm gonna say this and you're gonna think I'm a psychopath. I think this is a great opportunity for the Brooklyn Nets. I honestly said originally that if Kyrie Irving leaves and you're able to get something for Kyrie Irving in return, hell, even if it's not the greatest return, but you get something for Kyrie Irving, so long as you get a player that you could look at and say, hey, I know you're going to be playing games this year without the volatility of Kyrie Irving's personality, which, no offense to Kyrie Irving, he's a remarkable talent, but you have to admit, throughout his 3 years with the Brooklyn Nets, he's missed time, and every single year has been for a completely different reason. The first year with the injuries, I understand. The second year, he was just taking time off just to take time off, and this past year with the vaccine mandate drama. Now, of course, you can make the argument that it's not necessarily his fault, but when you take time off just to take time off, combine that with the vaccine mandate drama, then of course it could rub the front office the wrong way and make them a little less willing to pay you maximum money. On top of that, I don't think this has anything to do with Kevin Durant's friendship with Kyrie Irving, but Kevin Durant's 34 years old. That time is ticking. I don't know if Kevin Durant's going to be able to pull LeBron James or a Tom Brady and play into his 40s. This man already tore his Achilles. Woj would then say that as the Nets prepare to move one of the most valuable trade assets ever on the market, the entire roster will be available to discuss in deals, sources tell ESPN. Teams have been calling on Durant, and the Nets will certainly look for a historic return on players and draft picks. Bro, anytime, and I don't want this to be seen as disrespectful to Kevin Durant, because you guys already know how I feel about Kevin Durant. I think he's one of the most transcendent scorers of all time in NBA history. And I also think he's ridiculously underappreciated. I mean, especially what he's been able to do post Achilles tear, it's even more impressive. Yes, I know he tore the Achilles on his other leg that most players tear their Achilles on, which may have aided in his ability to come back, but that's besides the point. Anytime that you could trade a player going into their age 34 season for a historic return, you're supposed to do it. I mean, in a scenario where you could put a contender around Kevin Durant, then I would understand keeping him. But in this case, how confident are you in the ability of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons, one, all playing at the same time, two, when they do play together, having the chemistry to be able to take on the top teams in the East? That's the big question. And remember, a lot of that has to do with Kevin Durant not getting injured, Kyrie Irving actually playing games, Ben Simmons actually playing games. So I actually think this is a great opportunity for the Brooklyn Nets to potentially start an OKC Thunder-like rebuild, especially when you consider the fact that they have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. This is why I applauded them for trading for Ben Simmons to begin with, because I know we all meme Ben Simmons, and I know that Ben Simmons' value as a basketball player is at an all-time low, but the dude is only in his mid-20s. I said at the very worst, if there is a situation where Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving leave, and I said this during the trade deadline when they traded James Harden for Ben Simmons, at least you have a contingency plan. You have a player that you can build around. So it's not necessarily the worst case scenario for the Brooklyn Nets. I honestly think this would be better than if they were to keep Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but we're not done yet. There's even more information on this situation, including where Kevin Durant wants to go to. Kevin Durant, and this is first reported by Chris B. Haynes, who, by the way, you guys know, I think Chris B. Haynes is an absolute stud of an insider. He is currently a free agent, so if you're a network watching my content, which I don't really think you are, but if you are, make sure you go after this guy because he does not miss when it comes to the insider game, bro. Kevin Durant has the Phoenix Suns listed as a preferred trade destination, league sources tell Yahoo Sports. I said this earlier when there was speculation in regards to this. Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns sounds like such a good time. I mean, look, KD is age 34. He's not going to be tasked with doing way too much, but he will be there when you need him. But on top of that, I'm assuming Chris Paul's still going to be there. I'm assuming Devin Booker's still going to be there. I'm assuming the return that the Brooklyn Nets would get back in this instance would be DeAndre Ayton and some future picks, which would be fantastic for the Brooklyn Nets because that's still a good piece to get in return, especially if you're a rebuilding team. But I'm just thinking about this in the context of storylines, man. Like, you think about what Chris Paul went through. He was this close to potentially being in a situation where he could beat Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors during his first year with the Houston Rockets. But unfortunately, he got injured and he was not able to do so. Kevin Durant already has a little bit of a rivalry with Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors. It's not necessarily a heated rivalry, but it's kind of a friendly rivalry. Draymond Green said to Kevin Durant point blank, and this was an argument that resulted in the end of Kevin Durant's tenure with the Golden State Warriors, that the Golden State Warriors won without him. And this past year, once again, they won without him. Seeing Kevin Durant go there and teaming up with Chris Paul and Devin Booker just sounds like such a freaking good time in the context of storylines and rivalries in the Western Conference to challenge the Golden State Warriors for Western Conference supremacy. I am all for this. There's obviously other teams on this list, and again, I wanted to mention that Adrian Wojnarowski actually verified Crispy Haynes as a source, saying that Phoenix and Miami are amongst two of the teams that Kevin Durant has on his wish list, sources tell ESPN. But the Nets plan to move Durant where they can get the best possible deal. With 4 years on his contract, there's no shortage of teams willing to unload assets for Kevin Durant. I hear that the Los Angeles Lakers are interested in trading for Kevin Durant, but the fact that they're not willing to include Talon Horton-Tucker in the trade is the reason why trade talks are falling through. Jokes aside, we all know it's either the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns at this point. I think the Phoenix Suns are probably going to get him primarily because they're trying to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. If there's a player worth giving up DeAndre Ayton for, it would be Kevin Durant. The Phoenix Suns feel like they could get adequate production out of the backups to DeAndre Ayton, like out of Bismack Biyombo, for instance. And that's the reason why they didn't want to pay him maximum contract money, which, more power to the Phoenix Suns. It was a very bold move, but it seems like it might be a move that is going to pay off for them. But you might be wondering, how does this affect Kyrie Irving? He just opted in. Well, here's where it gets interesting. You remember when we made a report earlier where we said, hey, we don't know how close Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are with one another. They're friends and they do cute little handshakes, but we're not necessarily sure how close they are. Well, maybe they did have contact with one another, but it seems like they haven't had contact with the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving had no contact with the franchise after Irving opted into his deal on Monday, and a sense of inevitability existed that Durant would eventually ask for a trade, sources tell ESPN, and it happened today. So it's also important to note that the Phoenix Suns are officially shifting their focus to Kevin Durant. They don't want to gut the whole team to get him, but that discussion is now the main priority. So I know what you guys might be thinking at this point. Mike, what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving? It seems like the Lakers are currently trying to acquire Kyrie Irving on a deal centered around Russell Westbrook, and this is according to Brian Windhorst. And that's not even the most wild thing. Oh, but where are you going? Listen to what Brian Windhorst says, and I'm kind of resenting him for saying this because why are you just getting my hopes up as a depressed Laker fan for no reason? Just listen to this.
But it has been floated to me by executives that I'm sort of loath to say it.
I can't. Don't do
that
it.
if they were be kept together, that the Lakers would potentially have a package that you could trade for both of them.
Let's go,
Richard. But we don't know. It's too fragile. It's too fragile because we just don't know where KD and Kyrie are if they're still interested in together. But it would take, after seeing what happened when they were together, almost no team with options would do it. But the Lakers don't have options. So that's the only place I heard it was possible, but
Russ,
we don't have enough.
AD.
We don't really have enough information to know.
Brian Windhorst can't even say what he just said with a straight face. Oh, but what do you think? Look, man, I take pride in being a realistic Laker fan. I don't think there's any chance that happens unless the Brooklyn Nets happen to value AD and Russell Westbrook. And I guess in that instance, and this is just me trying to make sense out of something that doesn't make sense to me that much, in that instance, you could make an argument that Anthony Davis hits the same timeline as Ben Simmons, and maybe you could build up their value and maybe trade Anthony Davis, because bear in mind, Anthony Davis is still a superstar. He just had a pretty rough season the last year. But my most likely target for Kevin Durant being traded would probably be the Phoenix Suns or the Miami Heat. And I think in the case of Kyrie Irving, there's a decent chance he gets traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. So I'm going to keep you guys posted. We're going to be doing the live stream on YouTube for free agency. It's not going to pop up in your notifications because this is our third video in a 24-hour span. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.